Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to SPCS Series 3. We are here with some grand finals action in the Advanced Division. This is between Billings Boomers and no one else. Two teams that have looked dominant all the way through the season and all the way through the postseason here so far. It is Rags and Rain bringing you all the action. Rain, I feel we've got a great match ahead of us tonight.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you went ahead and introduced these two teams. Let's take a look at how these teams got here. Of course, like you said, we're in the grand finals here, so this is the best of the best that the Advanced Division has to offer here in Series 3. And Billings Boomers, I mean, this is a team that has been undefeated through this entire season. I've been informed they've lost a single map here in this entire Series 3, so definitely putting themselves in a very comfortable position coming here into the grand finals.
Yeah, just one in regular season and then one here in the postseason. So yeah, they are not looking too shabby at all. And no one else, also no slouches here at 4-1 in the regular season. And despite the lower bracket run, they were on a tear all the way getting to this point. So not at all unexpected to see these two here for our grand finals. But looking at how exactly it played out for the bracket, yeah, both of them got to have a bye for that first round of the playoffs properly. And so yeah, looking at Billings Boomers completely stomping their way through the upper brackets. No one else, finding their way all the way through here very comfortably as well, only dropping, I think, 2 maps. So just barely a little bit behind that schedule out from Billings Boomers.
Yeah, we have to take a look at the numbers, the scores between all these individual matches. None of these were close between these two teams. We're seeing a lot of 4-0s, some 4-1s. So these are two teams that haven't really been pushed all the way to the end in any of these series so far. And in the first of 4 here in the grand finals, Rags, I suspect that this might be the time that these two teams really have to go to distance to that map 7.
Yeah, I mean, we're really hoping to see them take it all the way. They both have proven themselves time and time again throughout the regular season here. And like you said, have not been terribly challenged getting to this point. Dominant wins kind of across the board, only each dropping, single-digit numbers of maps all the way through this here. 2 for 1 and a handful for the most. So that is not a very difficult strength of schedule for them. They've had a lot of ease getting to this point here. And of course, in terms of the rosters themselves, they are very well-known players here throughout the course of, running through the scenes. You're going to run into these names in a lot of different places. So not at all unexpected to see the strength of these teams. And we are looking at our first one. It is Billings Boomers. We do have Ugg and iToasty Toast, Cam, Poofa, Silver Tulls, and the Bakery. A lot of flexibility between these players here, but of course have crystallized a little bit throughout the course of these seasons.
Yeah, and like you said, Rex, these are sort of familiar names. These are players that have been in the scene. They've played with each other, notably in some of the other leagues. They've even been on a team. So this is not Billings Boomers' first time kind of taking a crack playing as a team, and definitely showing that their synergy has been strong all season long. So I'm expecting that is going to continue here into the finals.
On the other hand of things, we have our opposing team, sort of the underdog between these two here, but still top of their game. It is no one else. We have quite a stacked roster here. Destiny, Dabmaster, Frostfire, January, Matson, and Genesect are for your DPS line, whereas Destiny, Mani for your supports, and Static and Pepper with a well-rounded tank line. This is quite a plentiful roster here. So many rotations available to the team of no one else.
Yeah, no matter what hero bans come through, no one else is going to be able to work around it here. And I think especially when you get into these kind of longer matches, this Series 4, having the flexibility and having players that are kind of fresh to sub in if is needed, it can really help just extend your chance of kind of winning here.
In terms of roster size, the legend is their name is no one else because they could not fit anyone else on that roster. There's just so many bodies, they wouldn't all fit in the lobby. They could almost field 2 full teams with the amount of people they have there. So I'm really looking forward to see what strategies they have at play. I think the meta is in a really interesting spot right now. I mean, all the changes that we've seen both at the start of Season 19 and then at the mid-season have really kind of shaken things up a little bit in terms of, as always, my focus tends to be on the tank meta. what things are looking like in that particular realm. But this time it is warranted. We've seen some massive changes to how crits work for those crit immune characters.
Yeah, is Malga meta back? Well, it usually seems to find its way back here, and Billings Boomer is going to start out with a tank ban here on map 1, taking Hazard out of the mix here. Now, Hazard did get some changes here, maybe not anticipating to see necessarily as much Hazard as we did before, but taking the Hazard out of the mix is going to allow for your dives to just be a little bit easier. So seeing this ban come out, I'm thinking that we're probably going to end up maybe on a Winston or even on that Diva that's also in a pretty good spot right now.
Teams do love a Hazard. Apparently Billings Boomers, though, do not count themselves among that, but banning out the Freya instead is no one else here. An excellent decision in terms of getting all that long-range skybox pressure off of you. Freya can be so annoying on these control maps in particular, just because there's so much room to work with, and most of your team is focused around the objective or in fighting the main body of your opponent's team, whereas that Freya is just playing on her own level, on her own playing field. So one thing to not have to be at all concerned about, and of course, could easily be a well-targeted ban there when you know that your opponent wants to run.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, these control maps can be so deadly for Freya. She's able to kind of hold an angle on her own thanks to all that mobility and able to kind of find those opening picks as well. So, of course, this does mean that this is going to be no one else's only chance to ban out that Freya. So it's a pretty essentially heavy-hitting ban coming out of the gate right away. So you want to definitely win these maps where you're going in with these big, impactful bans right out the gate.
Yeah, we've honestly seen, teams either love to play Freya or they want to ban out that particular hero. So yeah, that is not going to be the case for at least the first map here. But as you say, Rain, you have to be very judicious with your bans. If you spend too quick, too fast, you're not going to be able to rely on getting them out of the way later on in the series. So we'll see how this sort of crystallizes going down the line here. As of course, folks, this is a first to 4. We have a lot of runway ahead of us, and as we suggest, with the caliber of these two teams playing right now, there is all possibility we make it all the way to that map 7, but of course, we don't know which those are going to be until we get there. The losing team decides after we get through this first map.
Yeah, and first map has been locked in. We knew that it was a control map. It is Oasis that's going to be that final selection. And I think that, yeah, we kind of talked on the Freya ban. And now I want to think about like the Hazard ban as well here. Now, Oasis has a lot of kind of high ground on some of these maps. We're thinking Gardens, we're thinking even City Center, where that Hazard can really do a great job of kind of controlling that high ground, especially now that you have a little bit more distance in your lead. You're going to be able to get up onto those high grounds a little bit easier. So seeing that ban come out here, it could be a pretty big shakeup and kind of what we're expecting to see.
Yeah, Hazard's still been in a really good spot. A lot of teams have still loved running the Hazard despite his, slight adjustments. Kind of a net zero in terms of nerf versus buff. I think he's kind of come out of that pretty clean looking. So, yeah, not at all surprised to see him taken off the board with such a lethal threat he can be. That really leaves you more able to run that Winston, for example, who doesn't have to be so concerned about a massive Jagged Blade coming through and just tearing through that lovely bubble you decided to put down to keep yourself and your team safe. So, Oasis is one of the more, I think, dive applicable of our control maps. I mean, a lot of them tend to favor, as everything does, rush. You want to get to that point as quick as possible, but there's verticality essentially on all 3 of our submaps. Really only University has a bit less than the other 2, but even then you do have that high ground off to the south side of the objective there, with of course plenty of room for environmentals to be had. So I would love to get to see some dive variations going into this, but of course we'll have to see running out the gate. As you sort of hinted at earlier, it is never not a good time for a Mauga when other tanks get nerfed. He loves to see that, loves to see a chance to get those force crits on everybody else.
I also think that the change in some of the support heroes is also kind of bringing in an old backline that we once saw paired with that Mauga quite a bit in the Brig Juno, who both did get a bit of a buff. I mean, Brig definitely outright, you're going to be able to throw out those healing packs a lot quicker now. And then Juno, you're going to have all that more control while you're flying in the air, which pairs really nicely with having that Mauga, who now, yeah, those crits, the crit deniers no longer going to be in play here, which means that it's going to be so much easier for Mauga to just rip apart targets.
Yeah, but of course, Malga, as always, does prove to be pretty stationary, pretty obvious target. So if you're looking to counter that, you might want to be running, expect to see some Ana of your own. And of course, if we end up in a, Malga heavy comp, expect to see bans to protect that particular, tank pick here. But as we've seen, these rosters are both pretty flexible. They have a lot of versatility, whether that's just with the sheer strength of your own players' versatility on the side of Billings Boomers, or with no one else, when you have just such a deep bench that you can pull all sorts of different potential out of your players.
Okay, we're heading into Oasis now. It does look like we're going to be getting started at University. So this is that sub-map, Rex, where it plays a little bit differently. Like you mentioned, there's a little bit of high ground, and oftentimes you really are kind of forced to take a fight up there unless you're going to play more for that mini health pack and play more inside of kind of a small room and just bait players onto the point. I'm getting a look at what compositions each team looks to maybe run out with. We still have some time left on the board. Looking like maybe the Zarya Reaper going to make an appearance. Definitely very strong here. This is a very closed-in point. The Reaper's going to be super impactful, especially have those bubbles from the Zarya to kind of just keep that aggression going. We are going to get the TPs out on the Symmetras. It's going to be the Mei for Billings Boomers here. That Lucio Kiriko backline is going to be mirrored. And interestingly, have Dabmaster coming out on the Tracer here. So going to look to try and control some angles against this Billings Boomers team.
Surprise, surprise, folks. We were teasing all those other potential comps because we knew exactly what it was going to be coming out the gate. Zarya Reaper is still good as it's ever been. Reaper is essentially untouched by those recent patch adjustments there. Still very dominant. Still, of course, pairs just so naturally with that Zarya from the earliest days of Overwatch. And alongside of Mei for Billings Boomers, I mean, this is classic composition right here.
Yeah, and Mei did get a little bit of a damage buff to that primary fire, so she's going to have not only the utility that Mei's always had, but you're going to be able to pump out just a little bit more damage as well. And this is big for Billings Boomers to get set up on the point first, because you have this Mei, you can use these walls very well in these corners.
Dabmaster back here on the far, now an excellent choice into this Mei, but unfortunately the rest of Billings Boomers are holding so close, there's no room to even get set up on that far. A distance counts for nothing when you've got Kunai flying directly towards your noggin, and no one else made some slight adjustments here, but this early control is heading up strong and building ultimates for Billings Boomers.
Yeah, I think the Pharah is going to have a little bit of a hard time kind of finding value between the bubbles from Toasty Toast, and then you also have the damage mitigation from Cam and the Bakery, but Frost is going to be able to open things up first. That Mei Blizzard now out of the fight here.
Yeah, that fastest ultimate so far in the server not in effect here for this next fight, and taking Toasty down as well should open things up here for no one else, as Static is forging forward over the rest of the members of Billings Boomers, pushing them all the way off the objective. Finally, the point gets flipped at 51% gain for the side of Billings Boomers. No one else feeling pretty good about themselves, and again, didn't have any ults, so they couldn't spend them.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. You are going to be coming up on both those support ultimates. Pufa is lagging behind a little bit, hasn't had the opportunity to kind of do as much healing as Music Addicts has, but Billings Boomers are coming into this fight with some really, really big ultimates here. Bakery with this Blizzard, you want to maybe try and force your way onto the point, use the Blizzard there, but you have things to combo with as well, but hey, you might not even need it.
No, Frost, unfortunately, just getting caught out there. Cooldown's not available to be used. Just squeezing through that gap. A greased up Zarya able to get away for a moment longer as Static tries to retreat towards the spawn doors, but no one else. I mean, they are penned here in this narrow corridor. Maywall cleans up, searching forward is the side of no one else. That Kitsune Rush falls flat in the face of a massive grab out from Toasty, and that is a big spend out from Billings Boomers, but on the side of no one else, they also spent massively.
Yeah, that's going to be your first Ajax of the series here, unfortunately. Music Addicts trying to use that beat in response to the massive grab. It's going to be end up taken down there. We're going to see Frost swap over onto the Sojourn here. It's approaching last fight territory as Billings Boomers are getting up to 90%, and you still have both those support ultimates to work with. Static Dream on this Zarya is going to have to make a lot of impact with this Graviton Surge coming online.
Looking at Static to lead the charge here. Has been so good at trying to find these early picks. Oh, Toasty gets immediately singled out. That is an excellent solo barrage there, and lives to live another day. Excellent work there from Dabmaster as no one else find themselves still in the driver's seat. That grab locking up members of the opposing side. Billings Boomers falling down before this sustained might coming out from no one else here. Really putting themselves in an excellent position to hold and hold a bit longer, but crucially a point flip in the middle of that fight means they were not building nearly as much percentage as they would have liked.
Yeah, it's a really nice ult there from Dabmaster, kind of finding that angle, forcing out the bubbles, and then immediately melting down Toasty Toast. That's just a massive pick when you're up against this Zarya Reaper team. Now, Billings Boomers, we're going to come back into this. You still have the ult advantage here. Silvertals hasn't used that Kitsune Rush. Is going to go ahead and open the fight with it.
Yeah, no one else had very little on the board trying to build up towards that rush and overclock, but they're taking so much damage. Music Addicts just able to survive, but the point flip for Billings Boomers, that's all they wanted. They just needed that Mei wall to keep you off the objective here. Finally, there is a recontest coming through, but Overtime Wick is burning, and with a Blizzard just off the corner. Yeah, that is a tough order to deal with there. Such a difficult entry point. I'm not gonna call that a C9. They were forced off the objective there, and that was a really solid point. Good positioning for Billings Boomers, and that Blizzard, yeah, that was the death knell for this round.
Yeah, Billings Boomers just had the tools to work with, right? You use that Kitsune Rush to open things up, you get yourself positioned on the point, and then the follow-up is gonna be the Blizzard, which literally just locks you out of the point. So really nice timing there from Billings Boomers. They had all the right tools in the kit to take one last fight, and that was all that they needed. Taking a look at the scoreboard here. Very synergized deaths across the roster here for Billings Boomers. Not too bad, though. We see Frost doing some pretty good numbers. I like the swap over onto the Sojourn. I think I'm going to like it a lot on with this next submap of Garden as well. You're going to have the cover to kind of play under, and you're going to be able to control that high ground. But Billings Boomers are swapping up their comp quite a bit here. Bakery going over onto the Genji. Cam going to pull out the Tracer as well. So moving over on into a very dive comp here for Billings Boomers.
I'm intrigued to see this. I mean, especially with this D.Va into the Zarya out from Static, it's going to have a bit of a tough time, of course, but really trying to lock down this very fast DPS line here of that Genji Tracer. Such a classic dive composition. Destiny rotating around, just able to get healed up, but that is a Genji directly on top of you. Yeah, Kunai are nothing in the face of a bit of a bigger blade out there from the Genji, but it does not matter all that much because the rest of no one else were fighting on that high ground. So despite the sacrifice of that Kiriko, they're not too worried about that for the rest of the team.
It's going to be really hard for Billings Boomers to kind of find the target that they're looking for with this dive composition. A lot of mobility on the side of no one else, save for Static Dream on that Zarya, that you're probably just not really going to be able to burst down with the kind of the comp that you're running out on. You almost want to try and find Frost caught out on an angle or try and force that Sojourn slide out before you really commit here, because otherwise you're just not going to be able to find a kill on a target.
Looking forward on the high ground is Toasty Toast, trying to lock down that Zarya, but having such a tough time. That beam cutting directly through, does not at all care about your D-Matrix. And we're starting to see the wheels come off this Billings Boomers composition here. If they want to make swaps, and I think they should want to, now is kind of the time to do it. Oh, this is a brutal stagger onto Toasty. Oh, no, oh, not even, just let the D.Va go. Just let her take a swim. That's all. Yeah, right, there you go. We'll just get the kill for Dabmaster.
Oh, so much more percentage here from no one else just by getting that stagger out. We are going to see that that swap that you were calling for, Rags. Bakery is going to start things off, moving back over onto the Mei. I like this, trying to play against no one else, but now you need to kind of find the rest of the comps as well here, because your Mei's a little bit out of place now.
I mean, if they can catch Dabmaster out, just about to build to that Death Blossom, but that Wraith Walk able to get out of it, and not a moment too soon, gets healed up, and that is an excellent stick, does chew through, and that bubble goes down. No chance at all for Static Dream to benefit from that sound barrier, so Music Addicts, despite getting some value, did not lose it this time. Hugh wiped the sweat off the brow there, but Cam does lose their life to Dabmaster, and on the high ground, this overclock rolling from Frost. They're trying to lock this point down here and now. It's going to be a steady trickle if Billings Boomers can even get a touch, but finally, Toasty Toast is here, surging forward, powering through, sticking on this D.Va, still trying to make it work, has that bomb ready to go, that extra life on the mech, and it looks as though Billings Boomers, on the back of Cup Ultimate spent, are just going to be able to clean this off and push no one else at 97%.
Well, I love the commitment of the Kitsune Rush flare from Silvertals. It really did turn the kind of the tide of the fight, and really great timing. And everybody else from Billings Boomers now on a bit more of a composition that's going to work for them. Cam going over on to the Reaper now. Toasty Toast does still have that bomb, so looking to maybe use it here. You really want to try and force out some of these bubbles from Static Dream, force out the Suzu. There's just so many cooldowns that are going to be able to mitigate kind of the value from this D.Va bomb. Not to mention that Destiny does have a Kitsune Rush ready to go, and no one else really just have to win one more fight here to tie us up on Oasis.
Expect that rush to lead them into this objective, and the Blizzard on the high ground, that's a massive source of damage, so really cannot force to play yourselves anywhere near that area for the side of no one else. Now, as it rolls away, the barrier does come out from Poopa, so that is a very healthy looking Billings Boomers. That rush, unfortunately, largely mitigated. That is exactly why you stay on that Diva. Devour that grab. No value whatsoever from Static Dream. I mean, that is a blow to the ego, if nothing else. The bakery does fall down though. Dabmaster, they're not out of this one just yet, are the side of no one else. The bomb comes out from Toasty Toast, gets no value from it, unfortunately there. Frost doing so much work, you were calling it out earlier. Really good value coming through from this Sojourn on the side of no one else here. Billings Boomers, they keep finding themselves getting taken down, paired apart as these fights drag on. The sustain out from no one else is just too strong with the point flip. Overtime Wick starts to burn. Bakery here on that Sombra, but that is for only a cursory touch at most. That beat a 5-person one out from Music Addicts. We are going to a third round at Oasis.
Of course, this is how we're going to start the grand finals. I absolutely love this for us from these two teams. Billings Boomers, I think that the comp that they rolled out on Garden just didn't work for them. And when by the time that they were able to kind of make that swap over, you still had Toasty Toast on this Diva who got an absolutely incredible grab eat, but the Diva isn't able to stay in these fights as long as the Zarya is. So the longer that we see these fights drag out, it's no one else that's coming out on top over and over again, because you can basically just melt down the mech or force the Diva out, and that leaves the front line of that Reaper May really vulnerable to the Reaper and Frost over on the Sojourn as well. So nice stuff from no one else, showing a little bit more comfortability kind of in this these more wide open maps. Billings Boomers, let's see if they're gonna swap back. We are gonna have Cam move over onto the Farah. Really like this as we head into downtown city center. There's lots of little angles for Farah to kind of play around, and now no one else on a bit of a composition where you will be able to kind of poke them out, not necessarily as much mobility anymore.
Really solid backline massaging there from Cam, cleaning up Destiny just as they try and rotate towards the objective and no one else fall down before the incredible high ground control coming out from the DPS line. Billings Boomers, yeah, it felt like they had entirely the map in their hand there. No one else, I mean, didn't really even know what hit them, and yeah, you're gonna see some massive swaps going through.
Yeah, immediately Frost is going to move over onto the hit scan to put some pressure onto Cam. Static going over onto the Diva isn't only going to help deal with Cam as well, but now you're on city center and you're not in control of this map. It means that you have to put some pressure onto the high ground. So having that Diva to work alongside this Tracer from Dabmaster, Billings Boopers gonna have to be able to withstand kind of this pinch coming in.
No, but Cam is still there, finding these early picks, just has such a bird's eye view of everything standing here on this little balcony around the central point of the objective, entirely uncontested. I mean, Frost would have to get so much closer. Unfortunately, the fall off range from that Cassidy, you really need to be a bit closer than that to get absolute value. And Static here on the Diva is only able to mark only a few members at once, so finally dealing with the bakery, but Cam is still there, right behind Frost, cleans up that main threat that the Far would have to worry about. So Frost once again has to make that return from spawn. We're at 50% here for Billings Boomers, but Cam falling down, that is going to be the main source of damage out of the way. No one else, however, losing a player of their own in Destiny here, and that is the beat coming through from Music Addict. They do not want to let this fight go. They know this point is so close to falling out of their hands, and with that, the rest of this first map here. So Dabmaster full committing, taking Silvertolls out of the fight with a solid boop there. That is going to be a remech coming out from both of these Divas, so the bomb comes through, but it's Frost finding the value here. Cam falling down as well, despite getting a bit of revenge onto that Cassidy. It's not enough at the end of the day, and it looks like no one else will eventually clean up the bakery, and they will get control, but at 82%, Billings Boomers got to be feeling good.
Yeah, that's a fantastic first control on City Center, and now you didn't even use Yukitsune Rush. You're gonna have this Blade online very shortly, and the beat as well, and 82% is essentially that kind of like one more fight is needed to finish this Oasis map out, but no one else doing a good job in their ult economy. Both those DPS ults are gonna be able to stave off Billings Boomers.
Love the aggression from Billings Boomers. They know they're at a slight loss in terms of ultimates here, so they really want to make this fight over and done with now. They only have to win one major fight, as you're saying, Rain, and that is the blade out from the bakery. Slices and also dices Music Addicts, two little tiny ribbons there, and that is so much value coming through from these three ultimates, everything that Billings Boomers had in the war chest, even clearing off those members of no one else who had the ults ready to go, sectioning them off the objective, and that is going to be such a tough inroad here for no one else getting back onto the point.
Yeah, you have the Pulse Bomb and you have the Deadeye from Frost. Already the recall's been forced out from Dabmaster, though. Somebody from Billings Boomers needs to touch!
Oh, that is a move out from Toasty Toast. Destiny was being, rather Dabmaster being marked that entire time, Cam, with that concussive. That is a brutal way to go down, knowing you've got the Pulse Bomb ready to go. The rest of the team counting on you. A brutal end to this first map here for no one else. As Billings Boomers, it is all control all the time for them. They looked pretty unstoppable here on City Center, cleaning up the first map in the series, getting themselves off to a solid start.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of back and forth there, but once you got to City Center, I felt like Billings Boomers were really kind of finding the tempo in these fights, knowing when to push in, when to get back up a little bit, and doing a really great job kind of resetting and controlling the high ground so that every time no one else tried to walk into the point, you're getting damage from all sides, and it usually resulted in a pick coming through for Billings Boomers. So setting themselves up 1-0, getting a little bit of momentum going here for this first of four.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just having a look at how they were able to play, looking at their stats throughout the entirety of the map, pretty close, all things considered here. Like, in terms of just straight elims, damage, all the percentage, all the numbers, not at all a huge disparity between these two teams. Obviously, we can see very clearly that our victors, once we kind of got into that final round, Billings Boomers really sort of separate from no one else. It really felt like they were able to delineate, you know, this is the comp we're running, we're feeling strong on this, and they sort of, and again, they were able to force no one else into playing what they wanted to go up against. You had such a tough time dealing with that Pharah just off the rip, spying Cam in the sky, who really, despite, you know, the swap from Frost and despite the Diva swap as well out from Static, was kind of unanswered for the duration of City Center.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It looks like if Billings Boomers can kind of put the resources into keeping Cam alive, especially on kind of these like specialty picks, bringing out the Pharah. I mean, we saw pretty much the instant swap from no one else to try and counter that Pharah specifically. So it's to still be able to kind of get the value through that shows that Billings Boomers really understand kind of the way that you need to be playing around this Pharah, taking a lot of pressure off the front line by using some of these angles. And I think that it's very obvious to me that this team has a lot of synergy and they definitely know what they're doing.
Yeah, and again, I have to applaud no one else for making their adjustments, but they just ended up not being enough once we got into it there. And it's not as if they made those swaps too late. That was after the initial fight. They certainly were able to read those tea leaves and spy exactly how they needed to adjust. They just were not able to. The strength coming out from Billings Boomers was a little bit too overwhelming the further we got into the map. So that's something to consider rolling forward here as we look at the potential maps coming forward in the pool. Now things have opened up just a little bit here. Map and mode are fully in the hands of our losing team. So it is no one else who will decide what we're going to and then to where exactly within that. And we have plenty of options for them to find and to choose exactly how they are going to bring their path to victory. Looks as though it's going to be Rialto for our second map of the series.
Okay, Rialto, we can see that, you know, this is just showing you kind of the amount of times it's been played, how many times it's won, how many times it's lost, and at least you can say that Billings Boomers haven't played Rialto as much as you have, if you're no one else. Otherwise, I think it's kind of an interesting pick here. They were opting to mostly kind of play towards that Zarya composition in Oasis. Definitely is still an option to potentially play that here on Rialto, but where you have these kind of like longer sight lines, it might be a little bit harder for your Zarya to kind of get into the fight without having all those cooldowns forced out. So I'm wondering if we're going to see kind of a pivot here onto a little bit more of kind of a medium to long range composition for both of these teams.
Yeah, if ever there's going to be a map in the pool to slow things down a bit, to find these less rush-based compositions, these less explicitly hard dive compositions, Escort is the map type to do it, and Rialto is certainly one of those. Now, there is still plenty of room. We've seen a few teams in recent days play some of these Winston, some of these hazard comps into Rialto. Still plenty of verticality, especially when you're talking about the first and second points of the map. Once you get into the third, it doesn't really factor in nearly as much, so if you're going to find compositional switches, that might be the time to do it. But as with all these Escort maps, they do take quite a bit of doing to get all the way through. I feel like we do not often see teams reach the third and final point on Rialto. I can't even think of the last time I was casting a game where any team reached the final. It really is about getting towards, getting through that initial bend on the second point is just so crucial. Getting over that initial bridge on point A. I mean, it's just such a slog rolling through this. So you really have to imagine that no one else, they want to drag things out a bit.
Yeah, and you are going to have the opportunity to get some hero bans in here. Billings Boomer's going for yet another tank ban. Now, you gave a little shout out that we were seeing a little bit more Winston here. Looks like Billings Boomer's not interested in that. Going to take the Winston out of the mix here, and that of course leaves no one else with the opportunity of either banning out a DPS or taking out one of those supports. Now, the backlines that we were seeing for both these teams were both very similar, running that Lucio Kiriko style, so I don't know if we're going to see one of those kind of get banned out, but I think that going for a DPS ban again here for no one else could be very beneficial coming into these escort maps. Like I said earlier, you're going to have some of these longer sight lines, and this is an opportunity for DPS players to really pop off when they have the space to work with.
Yeah, though we got to see some different looks out of both DPS and tank lines throughout the first map, we really didn't see any variation in terms of what supports are running. It was Kiri Lucio, which kind of tells me that these teams really, of course, that is, you know, de jure in terms of how you're going to run control, but it feels like both of these support lines want to run similar compositional decisions here. And yeah, it is going to be another DPS ban from no one else, sensing a bit of a trend for both these teams here. They had enough of dealing with that Genji on Oasis, so not gonna have to worry about that too much here. But if you want to run Freya, I would say Rialto is a fine enough map to make her work.
Oh, I 100% agree. You got those nice open sight lines. You have all that high ground that the Freya can control. You're going to have a great time just putting in a whole lot of poke damage onto the attacking or the defending team if you're able to kind of work around and find an angle here. I think that we also have the opportunity to maybe kind of see that Diva played again. We definitely did see Billings Boomers kind of opting to play that Diva as much as they could. And it looked pretty good for them. So I think that if you want to try that here on Rialto, I think that it'll work pretty well for you.
We do have a swap coming in on the side of Billings Boomers. Ugg is going to be in on the roster for DPS, and Cam is switching over to support. So really seeing a lot of benefit from what we were looking at. Those the flex roles in that graphic were not just for show. This team does have a lot of confidence in their ability to play off role, to play different roles here within the actual maps themselves. So I would expect that means we are not going to see much in the way of Reaper. I mean, if Cam is our specialist for that particular hero, I think Pharah and Reaper, what we've seen from them so far, would not be on the table as much for Billings Boomers. And yeah, on the defense, we are seeing, so this is perhaps why we got that Freya ban in the first map here. Ugg is here, ready to play that signature hero, and it is the Bakery once again with that Mei.
Yeah, this is a lot of damage from Billings Boomers. You have Cam over on the Yari here, so I mean, did so much work on the DPS position. Moving over onto a very DPS-focused support could be very scary. With Silvertall's on that map as well, Billings Boomers is really looking for a pick composition here, so we're anticipating that and even the supports are going to be able to do a whole lot of damage, and then it's Toasty Toast on this Diva, kind of using that infinite ammo and mobility to kind of finish everybody off. On the side of no one else, it does look like we're going to have Static Dream over on the Diva as well. It's an Ana Kiriko backline here, so all of those healing projectiles are going to be able to be eaten here by Toasty Toast. We'll have to see how no one else can work with this double flex support backline on the attack.
Yeah, Toasty has clearly indicated that he wants to be running this Diva here all the way through. Any chance you get, that is going to be the tank pick. So Static here mirroring that one. Clearly we've seen a bit more value. Does that Ashe live? Yes, she does for a moment or two longer. Frost just able to get out by the skin of your teeth for a moment or two. No one else still finding themselves pushing around this first initial corner here as that Baptiste in the high ground. Silvertall's just trying to keep alive, stay in the air, and try and stay out of the sight lines of this Ashe. But having to play around this corner is just so difficult, especially when you have the flexibility that Ugg has to just rotate around and be in the sky whenever you want to. So the Bakery as well with this Mei is just able to provide a ton of funneling here, and no one else, they're pushing moving gently forward here. They're trying to get a few more meters under their belt. But with the bakery surging forward a bit further here, no one else has to play a bit carefully. They do not want to get caught out by this Mei, don't want to get sectioned off by a Mei wall, and that is the pylon falling down. But on the other side of things, Billings Boomers were more focused on perhaps the opposing team. So that is going to be 2 members down for no one else. Another back to spawn for you.
It's really dangerous for Dabmaster on this Tracer because not only does everybody on the side of Billings Boomers do a whole lot of damage, but they're able to really kind of force this Tracer out just by kind of turning and looking, forcing Dabmaster to kind of respect these supports here. And Billings have gone ahead and built themselves a whole bunch of ults, and that payload has just pushed around this first, almost second corner here. So a lot of work here for no one else to do to kind of push this forward. You really need to create some angles for Frost to really pop off on this Ashe, but right now everybody's kind of just standing down main.
We're at a tough spot here. If no one else wants to swap up their comp, as I suspect they might want to, now is kind of the chance, your last chance to do so, and really maintain any sort of ult economy. That Bob thrown out from Frost, we'll see if that Ashe sticks, whether once this fight ends here, but no, Toasty Toes already landing directly on top Music Addicts. That is the Captive Sun out, so yeah, no benefit at all from that D.Va. No chance to eat that when you are locked up on the opposing side, as Toasty Toes is able to clean up both Static Dream and Destiny. I mean, this D.Va is exactly where you want to find yourself here for Billings Boomers, fully unleashed as compared to our first map.
Yeah, and this is such a great point for D.Va. You're able to just kind of reset up to this balcony. You can even contest the payload from up there, and just Toasty Toast doing a great job kind of cycling through this defense matrix, really making it last as long as possible. Billings Boomers also doing a great job with their ult economy. You did commit 2 there, but you have this Bola ready to go from, you really just need to wait for this defense matrix to come out from Static, and then you should have a pretty much free ult.
That's a nano onto Static, so that D.Va is powered up well and truly here, taking out the Immortality Field, but eating so much damage. The entirety of Billings Boomers looking at that D.Va, but here we see the ultimates coming out and value being gained for no one else. There is a bomb on the other side as Toasty Toast goes for that remech, but everyone else from no one else seems to be hiding around these corners and finding themselves in comfortable enough position here. They need to clear this D.Va off the objective, but this is the stay of execution they've needed, and with 30 seconds to go, not a minute too soon.
Broke through by forcing the high ground, creating a lot of pressure that Billings Boomers felt like they had to retake that high ground, and that's when we see some ultimates be committed there. Dabmaster gets a really nice pulse bomb to open the fight up, and now Billings Boomers are going to have another opportunity to contest here. We can see they're pushing forward. They have this window from Silver Talls ready to go. If you can just get yourself up to the corner, it's going to be very hard for no one else to kind of kite away from this window once it's been committed.
The Bakery can hold on and get this Blizzard here. That could easily be a shutdown here. No one else are in the final seconds of their push into point A. If they do not make it, that is a full hold. Another Bob comes through, and there he goes, right into the drink. Have a lovely swim there, Bob. We'll pick you up when the map is over, and that is going to be no one else. Down and all with nothing to show for it. A D.Va bomb out as well. Remech chance here for Static Dream, and that is going to be a remech. So that is not over just yet. But of course, Billings Boomers have to have so much more to work with. They do have this Captive Sun trying to path all the way around that D.Va and cleaning up Music Addict at the back of this one. That's got to spell the end of the push here for no one else. Despite getting out of the fight, there is no more fight left in this team for their offense. That's a remech kill. Toasty disrespecting the opposing D.Va. And yeah, despite the heroics, despite the attempts, despite the Bob going for a bit of a swim, no one else does not make it to point A. I mean, that is one of the most comfortable full holds I think I've seen in a hot minute.
Yeah, that not getting first is very rough. It's not impossible, but it's definitely putting yourself in a position where you have to hold that first corner very, very well, because you're not going to have a whole lot of time to kind of regroup your team and get another fight as you get to that kind of end of first. Billings Boomers just looking so good on this composition with the Yari Baptiste. You're putting out so much pressure that although we're seeing no one else run this kind of Ashe Tracer combo where the Ashe is going to be able to kind of get a good chunk of damage, the Tracer's able to come in and clean it out. The Tracer was just never able to kind of find your way in. You're never able to find yourself into a position where you're able to capitalize on any of the squishies from Billings Boomers because you're just getting poked out before you can find your way there. So really, really nice defense here. Gonna have to play it a bit different on the attack. It does look like Billings Boomers are gonna stick with this Yari BAP. We'll have to see how many kind of angles are able to be cleared here. A little floating rebel.
Speaking of angles, yeah, just get a full rotation. don't pay no attention to the rubble. Just marking the place for the payload, just kind of a placeholder, just keeping that golden box of victory, which will blow away if you're not careful. So you have to have something on top of it, just so it gets
the paperweight.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's the
good.
paperweight, if you will. Yeah. It's actually glowing paper. Is that gold box of victory there? But yeah. So on their offense, Billings Boomers have much less to worry about. They do not have to get nearly as far as no one else was hoping to on their offensive approach here. The Echo Ash for the defensive side of things. Echo as well, alongside Juno, got that bit of a strafe bonus. But even as I mentioned it, it is Frost getting found out by perhaps the chillier character between the two of them. The Bakery here on that May, and no one else down a DPS, down a ton of long-range pressure, are just getting forced back. They're just getting entirely dumped upon here as Billings Boomers surging forward around these first initial two corners here. What we saw as the most difficult place for no one else to even push on their offense, Billings Boomers having no difficulty whatsoever as they force themselves into this initial courtyard area here. They're inching closer and closer to this gold box of victory, and no one else, they've got nothing to work with. The Wu Young out from Music Addicts is hopefully a switch that's going to give them some value, but they have no time to work with it here. They are contesting at what is under 5 meters to go on the payload. Dabmaster falling down as Toasty Toast is just uncontested, unbothered whatsoever. Static falling early on as this fight drags and drags here. That is an anti-nade, but no value really gained from it whatsoever as and Silvertulls do fall. Frost is back in this engagement here, but 2 kills is nowhere near enough when the rest of the team is alive and kicking. And blink and you miss it, Rain. That is the second map going the way of Billings Boomers.
I'm very impressed. Really great stuff. It didn't really seem like there was a contest at all from no one else on the defense there. Billings Boomers came out on just a really comfortable composition here, and unfortunately for no one else, you have Tabmaster come out on this Echo, who can be so powerful, but kind of a glass cannon just getting ripped apart between the Ash, the Ayari, the Baptiste. So that is going to be the second map picked up by Billings Boomers, and that was, of course, no one else's map pick as well. So you feel real good about picking that one up if you're Billings.
Yeah, honestly, a little bit surprised. We got to see a lot of close fights in our first map of the series here, but here, when we had, Billings Boomers on, ostensibly the back foot in terms of, map choice, it was no one else who was able to actually make the decisions, make the call, just not able to deliver on it, and not looking like they were terribly comfortable. The comp from Billings Boomers, as we mentioned it quite a few times, just so overwhelming. No one else was not able to find any inroads whatsoever. Every single one of the players, every single one of the heroes that Billings Boomers are running, just able to look at you and disintegrate anyone trying to harass your backline. Just able to power down and just mow over that poor D.Va. I felt so bad for Static because Toasty here is just so comfy on this D.Va. This is clearly one of the favorite picks out from this tank player here, but not at all able to find the same value. Of course, it's that May doing so much work, cleaving all the way through any sort of value you're hoping to get out of that armor and D-Matrix, and you're hoping to slow things down with the long-range poke of that Ash, but there is no breaks here for Billings Boomers. They have not slowed down whatsoever, able to make a map that usually plays a bit more distant, a bit more slower paced, and just push it all the way to 11. No stopping for them whatsoever. So much damage. That greedy Yari backline, I mean, it paid off. So I really can't say anything bad.
I know, that's what I'm thinking too. Like, and typically that is a gamble. It's a gamble of a backline. You're putting a whole lot of faith in your supports to kind of be able to deal that damage before the healing really needs to come through. But you had the right backline to do it and making it work. As we do know what our third map is going to be now, of course, it is no one else that got to select where we were going. And they have opted to stick with a payload style, going over to Blizzard World for our hybrid map.
Yeah, no one else has taken the first ban here, so we are being sent to this third map in the series, our hybrid. Again, there is so much versatility in these different hybrid choices here, and as we often expect them to play a bit slower, but as we've seen so far, I would not expect Billings Boomers to allow that to be the case here. I think they're to keep both feet on that gas pedal until something goes wrong. And honestly, with their compositions, I have not seen any weak points so far. I see no reason for them to change what they've been running until we find a real answer for it on the side of no one else. I don't think in this case it's running a mirror composition. I don't think that is the way forward. I honestly want to see them play something else besides the diva. I don't think that's going to, you're just not going to win the mirror against Toasty unless you have everyone, like if you're playing, you know, a Sim, Mei, Moira, maybe you have a chance at slowing down, but at that point your comp makes no sense and you're also all focusing on the tank, so everyone else can just eat you alive here. You've got to worry about all of this pressure coming through because again, this Mei out from the bakery has been such a linchpin on both these maps already.
I got a little bit correction here for everybody. So interestingly, it's actually Billings Boomers that decided the map because no one else wanted the first ban. And surprise, surprise, they're going to go ahead and ban out the Diva. Arguably a really kind of nice ban, especially where we are on this kind of hybrid map, Blizzard world. Diva's going to play really, really well into this. So this is a chance here for no one else to kind of turn the tides back in their favor. Though you didn't get the map pick, you at least kind of had a read on what Billings Boomers were going to play on this map.
I honestly think it's a solid call out from no one else here. I mean, they chose the last map, and we all saw how that went. So I think it's, in their minds, it's not about where you are, it's about what you're doing, it's about what you're playing. And it's a Freya ban out from Billings Boomers here. All right, so this is both teams spending their Freya ban. Honestly, not terribly unexpected. Teams tend to be very judicious about the Freya when they want to play it, and when they want it out of their opponent's hands as well. So yeah, expect, you know, of course, that is kind of, with this Diva, you feel like without that, you can run this Freya. So Billings Boomers a very smart ban on their part here. Of course, all these long-range DPS picks that we've been seeing here for no one else are otherwise enabled here without this Diva, but I have not seen any reason to suggest that Billings Boomers cannot make anything else work. They look so good on that Zarya first round of Oasis.
I agree, and there's parts of Blizzard World where Zarya can definitely be really impactful. Even on this kind of first point, you might be able to kind of force that Zarya Reaper where you have the point to kind of work around. Once we get into the payload kind of section of Hybrid, maybe a little bit trickier to kind of run that stationary tank, but Billings Boomers on their defense look like they do want to at least run the Zarya to start things out here. We're going to have over on the Ashe as well. We got to see a little bit of that in the last map, looking like Frost on the attack might take the mirror there. Again, we're getting a little bit of kind of a bit of flexibility in the back line. Not going to be running the Lucio here on Hybrid. Still going to be sticking with that Kiriko, but it's kind of the Wuyong versus the Ana here. Silvertall is favoring that Ana. Going to be able to kind of combo, maybe get some nano blades in. Might work out really nicely where no one else isn't really running kind of a defensive ult. You'd be relying on Dabmaster on this Mei to kind of work with things. The doors are opening here. Static Dream is going to start off on that Hazard. So we were kind of mentioning earlier that Hazard, you're going to be able to play him on these kind of maps that have a bit of mobility. Big Dynamite to start things out. It actually does force the Suzu from Destiny.
Yeah, that's an early use of cooldowns there, and UG already building up 20% towards this Bob. I love this Hazard pick out from Static Dream, but yeah, Frost a little too vulnerable on that initial go through the choke point. Of course, Ashe, until she gets set up on that high ground, has such a tough time into so much long-range pressure. Toasty Toast fall dangerously low, but forced back. Static Dream had to abandon that high ground as there's just so much pressure and so much sustain here between that Kiriko and that Ana. I mean, Toasty just has a pure IV drip of heals coming through this entire time here. Destiny, however, is backing up Static Dream, and you do have Dabmaster as well running on this high ground with that Mei. I love the Mei alongside the Hazard. We're talking double wall comp here. There is nowhere you can go if these two heroes put their kit together. So Dabmaster surging forward, getting a bunch of ult charge here, a bunch of damage coming through, but Static is the one to look for, leading the charge here, still taking a bunch of damage, but is able to sustain through it well enough. Toasty Toast, however, taking Music Addicts out. That Wuyong is such a crucial part of this composition here. No one else are gonna have a lot of difficulty getting any more progression here towards the objective, as we are down a minute and a half already in terms of time bank. We do still have plenty of room to rotate through, but losing Frost, I mean, that's gotta spell a retreat. Yeah, has been unleashed, cleaning up the DPS line, no sweat whatsoever.
Yeah, really nice stuff there from Billings Boomers, you know, giving up this high ground. You hold it as long as possible. We had Toasty Toast on this Zarya, but it's a really nice rotation out as soon as the kind of pressure is on. They give the space, no one else walks forward, and that allows to just have this space to work with to kind of find those opening picks, which is the second time in a row now that this Ashe has been able to basically just shut down this push if no one else. But now you do have ults ready to go here. Destiny with this Kitsune Rush. I anticipate we're going to see it matched with Cam. No one else able to get up on the high ground, but this is exactly what we saw last time from Billings Boomers. They rotate back, and then they're going to take the fight on their terms.
Suzu used pretty much time and again here for that dynamite. They do not want to give extra damage and also that reduction of healing to the rest of their team. So that's the rush, or rather no rush. That is going to be the Blizzard coming out, as well as the nail from Silvertals onto Toasty. Bob as well. Billings Boomers had a full suite of ultimates here, borrowing the Bakery's Blade. And it turns out 2 might be the magic number for them, but Static Dream is still here. This is not at all where you want to find yourself. A small room with the Hazard. Bakery is cleaning up both members of No One Else's backline, and Static finally finding themselves in a back room situation where you do not want to be on the receiving end of that Genji looking straight at you. Cam cleaning up so much damage here from that Kiriko.
Yeah, and really great timing on the Suzu as well, able to keep the Bakery alive. And just like that, we see the Billings Boomers withstand another really great attack here from No One Else. Not even a single tick on the board here, down to 60 seconds. No One Else need to find their way into this point.
They're spending big. They know this is their make or break moment. They've already lost 2 members. Static Dream and Dabmaster both trying to claim the high ground, but getting stuffed the second they make any inroads whatsoever. And only 1 ult spent in this one, crucially out from Cam, that rush to match Destinies. And they still have the Blade and the grab. 30 seconds in the bank. No One Else. I mean, they're feeling rough coming into this one.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to get value from this downpour. Now, you at least do know that Billings Boomers like to kind of rotate back towards that back archway, so you can have an idea of where to place this this downpour. But there's going to be so much in response here from Billings Boomers. Toasty Toast holding on to this Graviton Surge is absolutely massive for a last fight.
Static Dream with the downpour here, trying to lock up the members of the support line, and it's going to be Cam falling down. Dabmaster, however, is going to take a bit of a tumble. Not at all a great situation to be in for a Tracer, but fortunately the rest of the team is on the objective, but Toasty is still alive and has vengeance in his heart, ready with that beam on the objective. Static hiding behind that jagged wall, just trying to stay alive against the Zarya, and is it going to be the will of Toasty that keeps Billings Boomers alive? It is, on the back of some help from his friends. The rest of Billings Boomers coming back onto the point. What looked to be such a strong start for No One Else in that final fight. Shut down, not a single tick, full hold for Billings Boomers.
Really, really great stuff from the Boomers. I mean, you see just how much synergy it is. Every single player is on the same page about whether they're going to push into a fight or whether they're just going to back up, wait for a full 5, and then go in. No One Else, it seems like once they'll find their way kind of into the fights, but once the fight kind of spreads out and Billings Boomers backs up, No One Else has a hard time of kind of deciding who is the target that they need to go on to. And Billings Boomers really kind of capitalizing just on those mere seconds of kind of disorganization. And that's when they're able to kind of open things up and allow Cam and to really kind of be doing just a whole lot of damage here. Starting out these fights with a pick almost every time for Billings Boomers. Now they're going to be over on the attack. Doesn't look like they're really going to change anything up. I mean, it worked for them on the defense. You're going to essentially run the same thing on the attack. No One Else are going to have Music Addicts over on this Wuyang once again. So we have been seeing this Kiriko Wuyang from this team. I do like it on this first point defense. Both of these heroes, support heroes, going to have kind of that verticality that's really needed to kind of rotate around the map. But that's going to be really, really important here for No One Else, is that you need to keep your supports kind of constantly moving. Bakery on this Genji is going to be able to really displace them well, even if they're on the high ground. Still starting on with this Tracer on the defense here. So Dabmaster is going to be kind of a constant thorn in the side for Billings Boomers, who do have coming out on the Widow. A nice little Mercy pocket as well. Not quite going to find what he was looking for.
Now, you saw it there on the stats page, folks. Did not have a single death in that first round on defense. That Ashe entirely uncontested, playing so far and so high above the rest of the teams. There was nothing No One Else could do to reach those lofty grounds there. Billings Boomers now find themselves in a bit of a tunnel situation, but as long as is still alive, they are not done just yet here. Whenever they have some of their players in a difficult spot, the rest of the team knows exactly where to position themselves and is so adept at finding themselves comfortable on those off angles, cleaning up those most lethal members from the opposition. No One Else losing members one by one. Static falls first, Destiny second. Is anyone else left to contest? It's Music Addicts, and it's just gonna be dominoes one by one. And once again, on the offense, Billings Boomer leave no room to breathe, cleaning up in a massive hold here. First point hold and then cleaning up on their offense. That is 3-0. They're at series point.
This is it. It feels like every attack for Billings Boomers has just been just a walk through the park. They just absolutely stroll in. Ugg doing an absolutely incredible job on this this role, finding an opening pick in every single fight of Blizzard World, and that was exactly what Billings needed. Really, just kind of shutting down no one else. And now you're looking at a reverse sweep if you want to come out the champions for no one else.
Yeah, it is a tall order ahead of them, and I'm not sure they expected things to go this dire out the gate in this series here. You've got to feel at least a level of confidence coming with the record you did. But folks, we're going to have to deal with the fourth map in the series. On the other side of this break, it's either going to be the start of a reverse sweep or the end to it all. Do not go anywhere. We'll see you in just a couple minutes. Welcome back, everybody. No, that scoreline is not a joke. That is 3-0 right now in our grand finals. Billings Boomers over no one else. We have potentially just one more map to go in our grand finals here for the Advanced Division SPCS Series 3. Rain, I don't think anyone expected it to go quite this way this quickly.
No one else have just, like, surpassed the amount of maps that they've lost the entire series. They've lost 2 maps leading up to this point, and now they've lost 3. And Billings Boomers looking to just keep extending. They don't want to lose a single series this season 3, and so far it's looking like they might be able to pull that off.
Yeah, I'm a little worried here for no one else. I mean, we saw both their attempts to take, map choice in their control or hero banning in their control, and neither of those not only turned out into a win, but didn't really bring us very close to one either. These were 2 essentially full holds with an immediate cap of Billings Boomers offense here. Really not stopped at any single point. So, I mean, this is at least one where we are forced to go to at minimum 3 of these flashpoints. We are heading to New Junk City, picked by no one else. So, all right, this is where they feel most confident. They have won New Junk City 3 times, lost it none. They clearly enjoy themselves a Flashpoint map. They have really good stats here, only losing on Atlas, which is great that we're not going there. They made a great choice in deciding where we're headed. Both Suravasa and New Junk City, good for them, but yeah, Suravasa looking even better for their opposition. However, we haven't seen any New Junk City here for Billings Boomers this season, which is a fun little tidbit.
Yeah, all right. Maybe you're throwing them into something that's a little uncomfortable for them. Maybe. We'll see. So far, they've looked pretty unstoppable here. It is going to be Billings Boomers. They get to go for the first hero ban. Again, going to decide to take out a tank here, removing the Ramatra from New Junk City. So definitely looking to kind of move away from that rushed composition, but having the Mayban come out from no one else here is going to put themselves in a little bit safer of a position as they try to push through all these choke points on this map.
Yeah, the Mayban, I think, is a solid decision here for no one else. However, if we do see a Diva on the side of Billings Boomers, which is not usually the optimal pick, of course, here on New Junk City, but I would not put it past Billings Boomers. They really proved Toasty has been so comfortable on that pick. Yeah, no one else do not have access now to the main tool you might use to deal with that, but they only play May as a last resort, as we got to see from them. So certainly you were more trying to take it out of the hands of Billings Boomers, and entirely fair. That is entirely a solid way to think about it there. We, of course, got to see that alongside the Hazard for their offense, their ill-fated, perhaps, offensive attempt there. Didn't really end up in their favor. The Hazard pick was not bad at all. It just was not able to find and chase down those targets. I mean, you talked about it in the last map there, Rain, where it's just the positioning from Billings Boomers is kind of flawless at this point.
Yeah, it's really impressive the way that they're able to kind of kite around the map. On Blizzard World, we saw that Billings Boomers on the defense always starting up on that front high ground, but they know that the attacking team wants to displace them. So as soon as kind of that Hazard leap is committed, you just see the rotation out, and nobody from the side of no one else is able to really do any damage to Billings Boomers. And I worry about that for no one else as we come into New Junk City, a map type where rotations are so important. It's such a wide open map. You want to be able to kind of control as many of those angles as you possibly can. But the good news is that control was your closest map type that we've had so far. So going back over onto this style could give a little bit of a boost here for no one else.
Yeah, I'm expecting Kiri Lucio until proven otherwise here from both of these teams. Clearly, the way to go in terms of your support line, keeping your tank as fast and sustained as possible. Of course, it's quite a long run back, not as long as it used to be. Of course, the ramp rework did a lot of favors to that. I honestly have loved the variation to the map. The rework was such a breath of fresh air for New Junk City, so much more open. But yeah, so we are looking down the barrel of a sweep, a shutout here for Billings Boomers. No one else. They need to do it in a reverse sweep, and now it needs to be the time to open things up here. We are looking at some hovered rosters. Not exactly what I would have expected out from no one else, but hey, you need to shake things up. Clearly what's been running for you has not been working. But on the side of Billings Boomers, this is kind of exactly what I'm hoping for. Cam, I would imagine, will go over to that Reaper in just a hot second.
Yeah, we can see the Cam back over on the DPS. So we do have subbed out there. And then we also have Poofa in for Cam as well. So Poofa's over on the support here, playing that Lucio. You called it right. We are going to get that Lucio Kiriko. Even the Zarya and Reaper, it's just a difference in those flex DPS.
Love this aggression here from no one else. They're finding a doorway and saying no one gets to roll through it here. Frost, however, does fall down, and Dabmaster just able to get away with his life. And not a moment too soon as Toasty just falls forward onto Destiny. Music Addicts also being taken down. The aggression from no one else, while warranted, just not able to withstand the recourse out from Billings Boomers. And yeah, that's some solid ult charge gain for them.
Yeah, you're going to be able to get yourself set up kind of on the inside here. Now, running this Genji versus the Venture. The Venture is going to have a little bit more kind of frontline presence here, and that means no one else is going to be able to break through that choke point fairly easily.
Nope, Frost taking so much pressure here. Cam, however, down to 10 health and does get taken down by Dabmaster. Frost able to get the better of Toasty. So this is going to be a quick retake here for no one else. However, this is, of course, Flashpoint. These points build up very quickly here. Team kill from no one else. Very solid stuff here in this second neutral fight.
Yeah, nice to flip this over. Built up some nice ult charge as well, notably on those DPS heroes for the side of no one else. But Bakery is going to be up to this Blade fairly quickly as well. You get a couple of bubbles there from Toasty Toast. You're going to be able to kind of snowball these kills together, but you're going to have to break through this choke point, and it's going to be even harder for Billings Boomers to push through because you're up against this Venture, Reaper, and Zarya just absolutely shutting the door on this.
Yeah, entering from these choke points is just so difficult for either of these teams here, and no one else, while in control of the objective, have to play carefully. They're moving over to the high ground as Music Addict is able to land that beat onto all members of that team, and on the back of that are able to push Billings Boomers back off the objective, out of the choke here. However, into this next fight, you know, it's a bit of a Pyrrhic victory here for no one else because there's a lot of ults ready on both sides.
That's a really, really great tempo B coming out from Music Addict. You have to know that Billings Boomers is coming up to some of these really big, impactful ultimates, but you know that you can win the fight with the beat, and because Flashpoint takes up so quickly, it means that Billings Boomers, if they have a touch at all, it's going to be very, very flawed, but no, actually won't even get the touch at all. That's the first sub point going to no one else.
Incredible pick out there from Destiny. One of the most lethal Kiriko I have had the pleasure of seeing here. Really solid work, especially in their opposite Silvertulls, doing so much work here on both sides of this engagement. That was a bit of a disgusting deflect out from the Bakery, clearing off both Static Dream and Dabmaster. So what looked to be a solid mid-fight here for no one else. I mean, Billings Boomers have set themselves in the driver's seat for taking this second objective control here. However, we do need to see someone on the point. There is still an objective that is about to be unlocked here. It is no one else. With first feet on the point, we'll see how long that lasts.
A little bit of an awkward touch here coming out from Frost. Isn't going to be able to get out alive, and ends up basically just getting staggered out as Billings Boomers put some feet on the point.
Yeah, but that is it. Just a couple of toes, nothing gained whatsoever there. Didn't even take control of the blasted thing. So that is Billings Boomers with a judicious application of Death Blossom out from Cam, still with both supportals ready to go. I mean, they have not been ones to empty the war chest all at once. No,
they're doing a really good job of kind of using these ults first, but being very tempered about it. No one else doing a great job as well, though, coming into this a little bit stronger of an ult academy, and you're going to be able to get started with that Tectonic Shock from Dabmaster.
Love that opening ultimate here from Dabmaster. That can be so good for creating space on the objective, but only if you're able to escape. And Toasty Toast, very much wise to the Venture's ways, cleans up Dabmaster. And again, it's on the back of this rush that they are able to surge forward. However, a return Death Blossom. Frost says we are not done yet, cleaning up 3 with that. I mean, that is a massive reversal of fate here for no one else, but will it be enough to actually put the point? No, Toasty is still here in Destiny, despite the heroics, despite the incredible work coming out. Oh, I can't bear to watch. Dabmaster and Music Addicts going down early in that last fight. I mean, that's going to be it. There's no one left to touch this objective before it turns Billings Boomers' favor, and we are 1-1 on New Junk City.
Toasty is absolutely relentless on this tank roll. As long as he is still left in the fight, no one else is just going to have such a hard time kind of cleaning things up. As we see, not a far walk to get to this next point. That means Billings Boomers are going to be able to get themselves set up kind of on this high ground behind point. Really nice spot to kind of stage from, but full support ults for no one else, but you're down Frost already. That's so much damage gone from your composition.
Silvertoes as well, just as lethal. Kiriko, I got the joy of casting both of them against each other this weekend, actually. A little tangent. But yeah, Toasty falling forward on to the rest of no one else. No chance at all to escape here. This Zarya just playing so aggressive. I mean, that previous grab out from Toasty, it was not a one-person grab. It was not a solo grab, but it had the energy of one. It was disgusting and unkind, and Billings Boomers are happy to gain control here.
Yeah, you have this blade, and you're gonna have another Death Blossom ready to go from Cam. We saw a really nice angle come through the last time, and Cam went ahead, got that bubble from Toasty Toes. No one else has brute forced their way through the point, but is it gonna be enough?
This is both support ults from no one else. They are desperate to claim this here to the point of losing a little bit of discipline. They really, really need to find some control here, or they are going to be at match point, all of it on the line. Dabmaster is able to burrow out, cleaning up Toasty Toast, but Poofa and Bakery still alive here, proving that Billings Boomers, every single member of this squad is just as lethal as the other. Poofa, this is just a support line. Only Lucio and Kiri on the objective. And snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. No one else. What are you even gonna do in the face of that Lucio insanity?
He's so scary, and all through that, not only did Poofa manage to get a bunch of limbs, but manages to hold on to that beat as well. Going to be so important coming into this next fight for Billings Boomers. No one else. You have this grab, but who are you going to be able to catch in it? You need to confirm a kill from it at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, this is the only time they have in order to hold on to Junkyard, or else it is going to be 2-1 on this map, and you cannot lose that last point. But Dabmaster is able to clean up Toasty Toast. All right, so there is still plenty of room to work with here for no one else. They do have bodies on the objective, applying pressure to Billings Boomers, who are being forced up onto that high ground, cleaned up by Dabmaster, looking very solid in this venture. Finding that stride, finding a level of confidence, they will put the point in their favor, and crucially hold on to a few ultimates.
Static Dream gets that solo ult onto Toasty Toast, does force the beat out from Poofa, but the nice thing about running this Venture Reaper comp is all you have to do is turn and look at the one person in the grab, and you're going to be able to pretty much explode them. So really nice play from the DPS to follow up there. Now, both these DPS ults ready to go, both going to be excellent options for locking down this choke.
But the Russian grab from Billings Boomers, I mean, that is all you need to shut things down. You know you just need one fight to claim Junkyard for your own. So you are not at all upset with spending both those ultimates. Yes, it is a heavy cost, but you're going to have two coming into this next flashpoint as it kicks off here. And that is kind of all that no one else has as we kick things off as well into what is potentially our final flashpoint.
Oh, this is it. Everybody making their way over. No one else is going to get themselves set up in the choke point of Ducks first, and that's going to mean a little bit more work here for Billings Boomers to try and find their way in. We see Dabmaster over on the flank, has this ultimate ready to go. Going to be a really nice pinch if he can pull it off.
Bakery here on this Genji has to play so carefully. Frost with another 3K Death Blossom. I mean, when you need to deliver, absolutely count on this Reaper to turn a fight in your favor. Really solid work there. Does go down for his trouble, but is able to clean up as they are able to put the rest of the team on the objective there on the back of Frost. Really solid work out from them. Dabmaster still has this Tectonic Shock ready to go.
Yeah, look, he's lurking in a corner. He's just like, tell me when they walk in, but it's going to be the Blossom from Cam, and we see that bubble go over as well.
Yeah, and that is an early start to the fight. Cam and Poofa both falling down as the Tectonic Shock rolls, just keeping everyone alive for a few moments longer, but that blade wears down the remaining overhealth as it trickles away. The Bakery is there to dice the remains of Static Dream. Only that rush left here for no one else, as Music Addict is able to get a kill on the back end of this engagement here, but that is very little in the face of the point pressure applied by Billings Boomers. And yeah, they did not get a ton of percentage here. As we established, 46, that's not a whole lot in the grand scheme of things on Flashpoint.
No, Billings Boomers are going to be able to reach and most likely surpass that just by winning that kind of one fight alone. And now the grab, you're going to commit it early, ensuring that you're going to get the lead.
Yeah, I mean, as we've seen from Billings Boomers, there is no recourse once you are caught in that grab. The team has you exactly where they need you, and you are just getting an express return to spawn. So no one else trying to disengage off this fight here. They don't want to lose anyone else, as they only have one, maybe 1.5 good fights left in them, as they're trying to regroup on the point. The high ground still firmly controlled by Billings Boomers, although that's a good start.
Ooh, Destiny with a huge opening pick onto Silver Talls, who is approaching that Kitsune rush. No one else. You need to build up to this grab or this Blossom. You need to lock this fight down quickly before Silver Talls gets back in.
Frost Blossoms have been the saving grace here. Cleans up Poofa and Toasty. No Blossom required. This is going to be a retake coming through from no one else. Despite 99% on the board for Billings Boomers, they are not out of this one just yet. I mean, this is do or die. It is this point. They need to take this to go to our last one if they want to stay alive, and I'm sure they do.
I think so, and now they've got some tools to work with here. Really crucial that no one else didn't have to commit any of their ultimates there. So these are two really big ultimates. Music Addicts coming up on that beat as well. Going to be able to kind of match for that beat that Poofa has coming online. But Silver Talls having this Kitsune rush could be a little dangerous.
The beat is just what they need to stay alive through that grab, but the Death Blossom on the back end of it, I mean, Overhealth is not going to do so much against that. Overwhelming pressure out from Frost, really solid work, and the beat on the other side now, cleaning up, landing onto 3 members, which is just enough for no one else to stay alive in this round. It looks as though the Ducks will go their way. We are going the distance here on Flashpoint.
Yeah, Refinery going to be the make or break here for New Junk City. Silver Talls did crucially hold on to that Kitsune rush, and Cam's going to have this Death Blossom ready to go as well. It's going to be a scrappy kind of first fight. We can see both these teams not really wanting to commit too hard, not sure where the other team is kind of positioned. Know that there were some late spawns there, but this is a really wide open space on Refinery. No one else really needs to try and close the distance with this Reaper and this Venture to be able to find the damage that they really need, and they're going to need to do it quickly because Billings Boomers are going to be able to commit ults first.
Cam has been looking good this round, but not nearly as loud as their opposite, and that is Destiny shutting down that Blossoming Reaper, but it is the greater shutdown of the grab out from Toasty, really showing that when the chips are down, you can count on this Zarya. That is a swift 3K and a team kill for Billings Boomers. I mean, a solid opening from no one else, but just the right amount of ults for Billings Boomers.
Yeah, Toasty can't be stopped. 39-7. I mean, he's been absolutely insane on this Zarya. It feels like he always has the charge. He always is able to kind of confirm at least one kill, usually multiple people locked up in these grabs. But those were the two really big ults here for Billings Boomers. No one else. You need to try and win this dry fight now, because if you take a longer fight, you're going to be able to get your DPS ultimates online. And right now, you're really looking to use one of those ults to kind of break through onto this point.
I mean, even at the opening of this match here, the neutral fights were kind of split down the middle, but Toasty is surging forward, really feeling himself at this point. Dabmaster gets found out immediately, but losing your tank is a massive blow to the side of Billings Boomers. However, if you can just manage to get one more body off, you might be able to even things out here, and we are at a point where it is 2-2 right now as we are on the objective. We're at 75% for Billings Boomers. Cam cleaning Frost off. Poofa has also fallen down. There's not a whole lot of room to work with here. No one else needs to find a flip, and they do just that. They have ultimates online here. If they can get an excellent grab from Static Dream, that can really put them in a driver's seat and take us to a 5th map in this series, which they're so desperate to stay alive in. You can feel the strength, the desperation, the buckling down at the 11th hour here as they have ults to work with, and they are not spending them until they absolutely need them.
Yeah, Static Dream has been staying alive for so long, and it's really doing big numbers here for no one else. He's gonna have the grab, gonna go for an aggressive one as well, able to find the kills. This is huge for no one else.
I love this incredible aggression. They know exactly where to take these fights. They're pummeling forward onto the back line. If they can find one target, they know that's a win condition. They know that's one fight done and off the board. And we're coming into this next one with a massive slate of ultimates, 5 for Billings, and no one else only have 4 to their name.
This is why these are the advanced teams. These players are playing so cautiously. You know that this is the last chance, so both teams going to invest all the ultimates.
Yeah, everything being spent at the exact same time. Look at the light show, folks, but that blade coming out, determined to find a kill with this Genji blade here. The bakery doesn't find anything, but the rest of the team is alive and kicking. Toasty Toast pummeling the members of no one else into oblivion here. Control wrested from their hands here at the final moments of this map, and with the speed at which it ticks up, there's really no more chance. Only the touch from Dabmaster at the very final second. It looks as though that is going to be all they gain here if they can get this venture off the objective. That is all Billings Boomers need and more. The ball is back, but who is in town? It's Billings Boomers all over the scoreboard here, cleaning up every last remaining member. Dabmaster does find a resurface kill onto Silver Tulls, gets Poofa, but for their heroics sent firmly back to spawn. Billings Boomers in commanding, in dominant, in destructive fashion 4-0 their opposition here, proving that they are above all the greatest and most accomplished of our advanced division. They have won it all in our grand finals.
I mean, a team that hasn't lost a single match leading up to this series. Everybody expected them to be here, and showing exactly why they deserved to. Billings Boomers are going to be your Series 3 Advanced Division champions, and doing it with absolute style rags.
Yeah, I mean, if any team was going to take it to Billings Boomers, it certainly would have been no one else, right? There was only 2 other teams in the standings that had anything close to the record coming into this of this top seed team here. And they really prove why. This is not a team that is resting on their laurels, not a team that has sort of softened in the postseason here. This is a team that was dominant all the way through and did not let off the gas all the way to the very end. Really incredible work out from them. We got to see, not allowing a single tick on either of, for example, on the hybrid map, or allowing any push at all really past the first point on Rialto on our escort map. Really no distance gain whatsoever. They're holding and shutting the door against their opposition, dominant head and shoulders above no one else here. So really incredible work. It's clearly head and shoulders the victor here, the dominant team, the deserved grand rulers of this advanced division.
It was unfortunately not the 7-map series that we were hoping for, but still, like you said, no one else would have been the team to kind of take things away from Billings Boomers here. Definitely had them sweating, especially when we got to see them kind of on the control map, on Flashpoint, really kind of finding their footing in that style. But Billings Boomers, they kept that dominance all the way through here. And yeah, taking it in a 4-0 fashion, that is a heck of a way to claim your championship title.
Yeah, and looking comfortable all the way throughout. They certainly were made to sweat at a few points there on Flashpoint. I feel like we really got to see no one else thriving in that chaos, really allowing the fundamentals to take over. Anytime they were able to actually play with that aggression, it was really much in their favor. But, on the back of this victory, Billings Boomers were led into battle here by no one else but Toasty Toast. So it has got to be our MVP of the grand finals here is the tank player from Billings Boomers. It's Toasty Toast, whether on the Zarya or on that Diva. Utterly dominant, utterly unstoppable, leading the team to glory, and really being the center point, the anchor for the rest of the team to rotate around throughout the series.
Yeah, we were saying his name all night long, from the incredible grab eats to the incredible grab surges. Absolutely impressive stuff from this tank, doing a great job of creating a whole lot of pressure onto the front line from no one else. And that just meant that Cam, the bakery, and Ugg had to just, hit the shots, easy peasy. And that allowed the rest of Billings Boomers to just really, really shine. So excellent, very well deserved finals MVP for iToasty Toast.
Yeah, there was still some rotation in terms of roles being played by the rest of the team, but Toasty was just such an anchor for the team. Not only in map, but also, in terms of being that tank. The only tank player, at least for the entirety of this series, and making it look good, making it look easy all the way through. And of course, the Diva and the Zarya play very different styles here. They were able to sort of lead entirely different compositions throughout the course of the series here. This is not a one-trick team. This is not a team who has relied on one meta to coast to victory here. They have gone through the ups and downs of the entirety of Overwatch's, current state, and just coasted along at the top level, feeling entirely unbothered here in our advanced division, no less, where the challenge and the competition is at its apex for SPCS.
Yeah, this is the best of the best. So to be able to kind of look this good when you're at the top, you gotta be impressed with the season that Billings Boomers has had. And like we were saying, Toasty Toast being the MVP, playing a lot of that Diva Zarya. But yeah, we got to see like some other compositions here. Cam doing a really fantastic job kind of rotating between that Reaper and that Pharah, the Bakery with the Genji and the Mei, and then the supports not only able to play that Lucio Kiriko, but able to flex onto that kind of more greedy support line in the ERE BAP. It felt like every single person on the roster from Billings Boomers had kind of one or two just really mainstay heroes that you could rotate in and play on every map, every composition.
Yeah, really making it look clean and clinical and having plenty of tools at their disposal. But folks, looks though we're going to have a brief interview here with our victors. We have Toasty, we've got Silvertals, Poofa, and Bakery. All right, welcome everybody.
Hello.
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 All right, so for our victors, I have to ask this question first. Was there ever any doubts that this would be a 4-0 series for you guys?
Yes.
While we were
playing, or like in general?
Well,
Either
in
one.
general, I thought
Like
the
we
game was
thought going
gonna
into it would be like
way
a
closer.
4-2 roughly.
Yeah.
But especially after map 2, I don't know. We scrimmed these guys a lot, even like last week. So we had like a vague idea of like what comps they were gonna play, what they wanted to play, like going into it, and then they just like completely changed up on like everything that we thought they would do, and like picked maps that we didn't think were good for them, and picked bans that we didn't think were good for them either. So the series just kind of became really easy after that.
Yeah, it really showed, honestly.
The ego from this guy.
It's not ego. Just look at the whatever. Look at the maps. Look at the maps.
Bakery, there is video evidence. Don't you worry. Yeah, really awesome stuff. Obviously, carrying out the 4-0. How do you guys feel about being undefeated here in Series 3? Is this something that you were expecting kind of when you came into the season, that you guys were going to be on the top of the top, or was this a little bit of a surprise?
I'd say we didn't go into it with any expectations, but like we don't normally go into things trying or thinking about winning things really, and this is like we've never really won together as a team before, besides this, and then we also won the Watch Over Palestine tournament. So that was kind of like the first time we actually have won things together. So I think we all were just like, let's play, and it was kind of fun. But I definitely don't think we were joining to win.
All right, final question. Anyone y'all want to shout out? Of course, I mean, most of the team is here at this point, so I think in terms of shouting each other out, that's pretty much goes without saying. But yeah, who do you want to give props to or thank before we head out?
First, shout out to also Ethan and Cam, who are not here because they wouldn't speak, and Solomon said that we can only have 4 of us. And a big thank you to Dragon. Yeah, thank you, Dragon. That's the old man over there. That's Onk. And thank you to Prod, of course.
Shout out to Luca. He got us our 30-minute warm-up. And all we did was just call him Luca! Every single fight, we hard dub him every fight. Shout out to Luca for getting the people for like our warm-up, because I think that definitely helped us out, just sort of get into the game. So yeah.
Yay.
All right, well, congratulations again. I mean, our grand finals victors here. Fantastic work all season long. Thanks so much for joining us, and congrats once again.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Oh, Rex, it's so fun to hear from the champions, especially how wholesome that they didn't come in expecting that they were just going to be, the champions that came in. They wanted to have a good time as a team. And I mean, that really just kind of showed that, the power of friendship wins sometimes.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I expected, I led with my question, do you think of anything else? And they had full confidence in their opponents. They had a full appreciation, for the struggle they could be coming into. So I really love that level of consideration and not underestimating your opposition there, knowing, kind of what we were saying throughout, that like if anyone was going to take it to them, it was going to be this team here. So I love that they did not take any of it for granted throughout, nor in the season or even here in the postseason. So I mean, yeah, incredible stuff. Really could not go at this point to a more deserving or obviously victorious team. But folks, we're not done with our grand finals just yet. For tonight, yes, that is the case, but there is a bit more to come. So it looks as though it's going to be, yes, that is tomorrow, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, is going to be Eternal Fury versus Joey Esports for our intermediate division, folks. There is more grand finals to come. You do not want to miss it. Be there, or be some shape that isn't a circle.
That's right. And this is it, right? We got to see the advance. We saw the rookie. This is the final grand finals of Series 3. So I'm super looking forward to that one tomorrow, Rags. And I'm hoping again, close match. These are two teams that have been doing really well all series long. So I'm excited to see what Eternal Fury and Joey can bring to us.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Both rosters that I've really been enjoying throughout the season so far, and seeing a few different other tournaments as well. They're clearly trying to keep the fire alive as they're about to head into the grand finals. So really looking forward to that. Just go ahead and tune in for that next time. But folks, that is going to do it for us for the Advanced Division Grand Finals tonight. From Rags and Rain and all of production, thank you so much for joining us. But don't worry, again, tomorrow night, the rest of the season will conclude. Thanks so much. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.